As bold as lions. As bold as lions.
As bold as lions.
As bold as lions.
You're listening to the As Bold as Lions podcast.
Well, welcome to the As Bold as Lions podcast. Great to have you join me. Kind of a special episode of the podcast today, and that will become kind of readily apparent as we're moving our way through this episode. Just a note about As Bold as Lions. You see the title of this one here, and I'm going to start out with a verse. This is Hebrews 10:23. Says, "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful." Hebrews 10:23. He is faithful. I have some things. It's not probably going to be a super long episode today, but I do have some things that I want to express about the podcast and about the blog specifically for As Bold as Lions. And these kind of go out in conjunction, but I feel like sometimes I can open up a little bit more on the podcast and just maybe expound upon what I've already written as I'm kind of going through the script of things that I wrote for the blog. But I can kind of pull in a little bit more, and you can also hear the heart a little bit more probably from just words on a page. But I started kind of looking at this summer, and by the time this posts, we're already into July of 2026, so kind of halfway across the threshold of this year. And I started looking ahead at the summer and just doing some soul searching. I do this a lot in terms of the blog of like, okay, where are we going next? What's kind of the next hill that we're going to go climb and take, and just asking God, direct me where to go, especially in terms of this ministry and what we've been doing on As Bold as Lions for many years now. And I think there's been different seasons of what this ministry has looked like. Certainly different subjects I've kind of tried to teach on. Remember, as in the blog early on, a lot of just series that I would do, whether it was just on Bible characters or things like just stewardship or just different things. And a lot of that I brought over to the podcast eventually. And it kind of flipped and moved more into a podcast that was more of a regular offering, and then the blog just kind of a monthly thing. And you guys know all that. And then also the devotions, which kind of started out a little bit more sparingly and then up to 3 times a week. And those have been going for quite a while now. So since 2017, I've done my best to try and seek the Lord's heart, and stay true to what he wants. It was a year ago, it was last summer, I took a break entirely from doing all this, kind of the first time that I sort of took an extended break. And it felt kind of like a sabbatical, if I can say that. I'm not a pastor, but I just kind of feel like that's what it was. And that was definitely needed to kind of regroup and refocus for stepping back into it. And I think that was also a time of just realizing that there might be a day where I really step back and it really changes. And I hesitate to use absolute terms today and on this, but I also know that there's some changing happening here. And I think some of it's natural because I know I've done a blog for years, and I know kind of the blog sort of format has kind of died out, and I know I'm on the opposite side of that kind of peaking and being a big thing. And likewise, the podcast format, podcast still very popular, but we're oversaturated with podcasts. We're kind of just in this place where everybody has a podcast right now. And so I don't necessarily think that has peaked, but I also want to be sensitive to, am I offering something by continuing this? Is it something that's valuable? Is it where I need to devote my time and my energy? And I guess that's kind of segueing into where I'm going here. That this time around, the break that I'm putting in place is kind of undefined. I'm not sure if I pick this back up and we start walking with it again in a few months, or into next year or whatever. I'm not sure. I need to pray through that more. I just know right now it's time to sort of just really hit pause and really just allow myself to focus on some other things. So hopefully that makes sense. I know it doesn't necessarily answer a lot of questions you might be having right now. But one of which is probably just why the change. And, I mentioned some of the things with like the life of one of these things. Is this something that goes on forever? I think I saw an article, or some sort of video or something on podcasts the other day of most podcasts have a kind of a start and an end. Like maybe it's geared towards a certain subject matter, and at some point you kind of you finish with that. And I'm not saying that you ever finish with the Bible and with hearing messages. No, we never do. We never stop learning the Bible. It's not to say any of that. But is my sort of role in doing something is that for me to continue or not? And some of the other reasons just for the change is just stage of life related. Right now, to be honest, the home life is very busy, and it's a season where I've got kids on kind of both ends of this spectrum of where they're at in life, of being mature and moving into adulthood, and on the other end of just starting into elementary school and just kind of getting in that stage. And then some things in between, kids, I've got 5 kids, and they're well over 15 years apart or so from oldest to youngest. So, we're going in different directions within our home, just to kind of put it mildly. Like I'm experiencing that, especially during the summer now. And when you think it's a slower season and everything, it's just kind of a different kind of busy than what you feel during the school year of kids and just different things that they're involved in. So I'm trying to steward that well. I'm trying to say, Lord, in these short years that I have, I want to do my best to pour into them. And our church life is busy. My wife and I are both on staff in our local church. I now have 2 main roles, and I've talked about this probably quite a bit here. I'm over the worship ministry. I'm over the student ministry. So those can be fairly demanding, and my wife is over the kids ministry. So you put those kind of 3 roles together under this husband and wife, and you realize that's a lot right there, and I'm in the process. I use a lot of content, kind of reuse and recycle stuff that I've used for my student ministry. You know that from the Esther series that we just did. And so I pull in some of that stuff as I can. But I'm also knowing that I'm going into the summer, the rest of the summer and the fall, in the rest of this year, that I'm I'm preparing messages for that and busy with all that. Good stuff, but just busy stuff. I also do in-home guitar lessons. If you ever want to check me out, there's some handles out there. Learn guitar with Derek, and kind of a side business of that can be fairly demanding from time to time. But again, a good thing that I enjoy. But I think when I put all this together, and then kind of as Bold as Lions gets added into the mix of all of it, there's something that I know I have a heart for that I am continually kind of pushing off to the side, and I'm not putting the time into it like I wish I could. And that is just my own desire to get back into music and record things and kind of just use that platform that I know God's given me at different times to get more directive towards that, to be more intentional about that, because there's this passion that I think has been stirred up within me from just long ago, and it's to go down this road and to do something with that. And I think there's been a fear of pushing into that sometimes, putting my own music out there, working on it, learning how to even produce some of my own stuff as simple as I can, but to put it out there and just get the ideas out there. That leads me then to kind of stay in areas that are safer and more manageable and feel less risky. Sometimes as Bold as Lions, as much as I love doing this, it feels less risky than doing some of the other things that I think God has also said, hey, I want you to do this. And that's just true confession, bearing my soul. Like, I love doing podcasts. I love writing blogs, all of this stuff. And I get feedback from people, fairly regularly about some of this stuff and how it's impacting them. So I like to know that's being used, but sometimes I think I can focus on that to the neglect of other things that I know the Lord is putting before me. And so we moved to Tennessee. We're almost in this 10-year point now of having lived here. I live in Spring Hill, Tennessee, south of Nashville. Originally from upper Midwest. You can still hear the accent in my voice. You can still hear that Minnesota, up north type of accent. And but I'm in the South now, or I guess what some people consider South. Maybe it's not as South as Mississippi or Alabama and those places. But we're 10 years into this, and I moved from South Dakota. I moved from a church situation where we were kind of our first experience getting into ministry. And so I feel like God's saying, it's time. Like, this is something that I need to really focus on and devote more time during my week and my month to music. So saying all of that, and sometimes I feel like this is hard to just put out there because it's not necessarily a teaching episode. It's not necessarily a meat and potatoes type of thing that I'm sharing, and it feels kind of weird to just talk about all this. But people might say, well, then what are we going to hear or see from you? What is next? And I will say this, I won't rule out that I would post another podcast or I'll do another blog at some point. I don't see it happening for many months right now. Probably nothing else for the rest of this year. And I kind of want to be, I almost just want to say that, to tell myself, like, you don't have to feel like you have to get back on here and do something. Like, I just need to hit that pause button and really reevaluate where this goes. I do want to keep the devotionals going, and that's something that I feel like is just kind of this ministry that, even apart from the blog and the podcast, is just more of this. it's a little bit more manageable, especially where I'm just sending out something through an email and I'm just preparing that. Sometimes they're new devotions. Sometimes there's some replays from things that I've used in the past. It's kind of a mix. Now I keep writing new ones, but I'm also using previous ones as well. And you probably get that the longer that you're on the mailing list. But I'm putting those out, and I feel like that's always just kind of this easy content to kind of put out and plan, especially within the schedule of a month that I'm looking forward. And so if you're on the mailing list, you'll still see those 3 times a week. You'll still see them on Facebook. If you follow me on there, I usually cross post my devotions to Facebook. And then just anywhere else like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I'm going to post things from time to time. That's kind of how this whole thing started. Is I got posting on my artist page on Facebook, this long form things, and I'm like, man, I should just probably start a blog, because if people want to read some of this stuff, or it just felt like the natural thing of like, rather than just putting long Facebook posts out there, I would just start blogging about things and preparing messages and things like that. So it is a season, I believe, of transition. And I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't exactly know how it all comes together. But I do sense that in a very real way, God is calling me back into kind of this first love that I've had in my life, which is music and worship. And when I go back to some of the things that I've always enjoyed in my life, it always comes back to that. Like that's what has given me, apart from Christ and apart from everything else that I do in this life, those things have given me the most sense of purpose and meaning and calling, and so that it almost just beckons me to pursue it right now. But I would deeply desire and covet your prayers over this. I'm almost 50 years old. I've tried to live my life to honor and glorify the Lord, and I've not been perfect in any of this. I've made some missteps along the way, but I'm prayerful that the legacy that I have through anything that I've done, it points back to Jesus. That if you see me, you see right past me, and I pray that it is that you see Jesus. Because anything beyond that, let's be honest, anything above and beyond that is just icing on the cake. Like, I want people in our lives, each one of us, we desire this. Would you see Jesus in me? So I mentioned not a lot of teaching here today, just more sharing and kind of an honest moment to say, hey, can we just talk for a minute? And I would love some back and forth, but unfortunately this format doesn't give us the opportunity for that. But I'd love to hear from you regardless, and hear your thoughts. Not a lot of teaching, but I do want to share this verse and a charge as I kind of wind things up here, wrap things up. Philippians 1:6, and I'm sure of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. If we profess faith in Christ, there's this work that's being done within each one of us that is happening inside of us, that is just kind of this daily, reshaping and reformatting and bearing the image of Christ. Like, this is just, we're continually reflecting that more and more. And it's a good work. That's what Paul says, it, this good work that has been started in you, that it would go towards completion. Because our work in this world and in this life is going to move towards completion at one point in time. An ultimate point where it all kind of culminates and it's over. One day there's not going to be blogs or podcasts or sermons or songs. It will all be in the past. But what we will sing is an eternal song around the throne of holy, holy, holy. We gather around the throne of God, the Lamb that was slain. Like we will be singing and gathered in as real as this moment is, hearing my voice or reading a blog, that moment will be that much more real. And I want to continue my life in this good work, knowing that, man, as I approach 50, the days that are unlived ahead of me are fewer than the days that are behind me. When I start to think about that, like that's a sobering moment for me. That's kind of this wake up call of like the days ahead are fewer than the days behind. And in that moment of clarity, when I think about that, I'm asking the Lord, what am I living for? If there's anything in my life that's not of you, if there's anything that doesn't represent you well, it doesn't portray you, doesn't somehow honor and bless you, like remove it, God. Just surgically just take that out of me. And I think we all have to kind of spend some time alone in the prayer closet or kind of in the woodshed with God of like, what's my life for? What's my purpose? How would you use me, God? Who would you use me for? And my charge for you in this, as I close, is figure that out. Like figure out what you were put on this earth to do for the Lord, and then simply go and do it. Don't hesitate. Don't waste time. You have to remember the days are evil. That's in our theme verse. Redeem the time. Start living on purpose. Start living for something more than just yourself. And I'm pointing those fingers back at myself and saying that as well. I love you guys. I love walking this journey with you. I've loved doing it ever since I put the first blog out, I think way back in January of 2017. And I'll keep you posted with what comes next in regards to the blogs and the podcasts that are currently out there. That stuff should remain accessible, and I hope they'll continue to bless people and encourage them. But that stuff, it should all stay on streaming sites and on my website. But one final note is that if you're on my As Bold as Lions mailing list, there's a separate mailing list that I kind of started for music, and I haven't really picked it up and done a whole lot with it, but it's just kind of my Derek Charles Johnson email group. And if you'd be interested in being added to that, you can just you can drop me a line. You can info@derekcharlesjohnson.com. You can sign up on my website. You just have to be sure that you're signing up for that emailing list and not the As Bold as Lions one on there. And if you get my As Bold as Lions emails and you just want to hit reply and say add me or something like that, I'll take that as a note to make sure I get you on that other emailing list. And so I'm going to try to just remind people that, hey, you should you'll get the devotions, but if you want to kind of know about some of the other stuff that's going on, I'm going to try to send out this music kind of ministry email from time to time, just with updates. So this most certainly is not goodbye. It is a call to trust and step into what is next. And so I would love to hear from you. Love to get an email if I'm out playing shows or wherever, and you're in the neck of the woods that I'm at. Stop by. I'd love to talk to you. I encourage you to keep running after the Father, and I hope that has been what you've heard from me and continually through this platform, through these podcasts, through the blog, because nothing else in this life will satisfy. So guys, going to leave you with our theme verse, Ephesians 5:15-17, knowing that this is so much of why we do this ministry and what it has been about, just living this way, living on purpose, knowing that God is in control and that we have a gospel to share. Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Guys, take care. God bless.
Hey guys, this is Derek Charles Johnson. You have been listening to the As Bold as Lions podcast. I am a blogger, a songwriter, an artist, and if you've been encouraged by this podcast, please go ahead and subscribe and share, and head over to DerekCharlesJohnson.com for more encouraging content. God bless.